This broadcast is appropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Scary Movie Squad. I am Cameron. I'm sitting way too low. Forgive me, my back's hurting a little bit, and I'm lost about 4 inches up top, so we just gotta learn to reframe ourselves with this whatnot. Salutations. I am Cameron, and I am conversation ready. Oh man. Okay, so we are so close to being able to get back on schedule, but until then, the last movie of the week, if you can't see it here, is Predators. Woo. So oh man, okay, I'm not gonna hide the fact that I am not a huge fan of the Predator franchise. For whatever reason, the Predator aliens do not grab me nearly as hard as the xenomorphs do. I don't typically enjoy the concepts. Now, like, you talk about it as like a sci-fi movie, and it's fantastic. Yeah. Those. Sorry, trying to fix something. Sorry, it's always funny when people find my How to Munchkin video. Anyways, Predators versus Predator 1 and Predator 2. The first Predator was probably the best one out of any of these, if we're being honest. Though, conceptually, you sell Predator and it sounds like a good idea, but like in practice, it's like, yeah. Oh, it's attacking the forest. Like, that's Arnold, whatever. It doesn't grab me, like, and I don't know what it is. It's the suspense of it being invisible. Maybe it's because we get to see its perspective throughout the movie. Maybe there's just enough of, like, even if you can't, like, I can't reach that suspension of disbelief where it's like, he's right there to shoot him. Like, that's not really like what I'm doing, but like maybe that's in the back of my head. Maybe that's what it is. I forgot to try something. But you would think that, like, since I didn't really enjoy Predator in the jungle, and I didn't really enjoy Predator in the city. Jesus, cat. Maybe I would enjoy more of a hunting grounds thing, like in Aliens versus Predator, which we're gonna watch next week. Finally, that's gonna be the movie next week. I've been talking about that because I actually enjoyed Aliens versus Predator for whatever reason. And the whole premise of that, like this, is that it's a predator hunting ground, where they train or they go for sport killing. I think this one is more about sport killing. They bring stuff from all over the universe and release it on this planet so that they could hunt it and kill it for everyone's amusement. Because you'll notice, like, there's several points where they go and they see, like, big ships and planets in the air, so there's a lot of stuff close by. So I would imagine, like, there's actually, like, surveillance happening and there's broadcasting happening. But who knows? Because there was even, like, a predator that got hunted himself. So I don't know. But I'm skipping around. I spoiled a bunch of things, but without any context, who knows? Let's put this here. So let's go ahead and walk through the movie real quick, because I don't think this is going to take very long. I don't think there's a lot to talk about it. One day, eventually, I'll have a review up. But for now, let's just kind of talk about the movie. Let's talk about this little movie thing. It does have, by far, one of the most interesting openings to a movie I think I've ever seen. And that's a guy falling through the sky without his parachute open. And he wakes up like that. So not only does he wake up like that, and then after he gets so close to the forest canopy, it opens, which could still easily have killed him, because sure enough, the guy before him did die. His chute didn't open. But he lands, he gets up, what the fuck? Then another guy lands, he gets up, what the fuck? They start fighting, and then somebody else starts shooting at them. So El Chapo's in this. He keeps him distracted while the other guy goes around, puts a gun to the back of his head. And the only reason El Chapo survived is because the gun jammed. And when you're firing a minigun like that wildly, which I don't know why you would really do that, yeah, it's going to jam. People do these cool cinematic scenes where they're leveling a forest or whatever. Those are cool. That's actually precise to do it like that. To just... No, that's not how you use that weapon. You were either doing a precision shot to go through some kind of defense, or you were clearly going across an area to clean cut it. So, and the first guy who fell is the guy from the jacket, and I don't remember his name. Maybe I can look it up for us real quick. But he's really good. So my confidence was boosted when I saw him. Adrian Brody, I think is his name. Let's see. Yeah, Adrian Brody. He's fantastic. He's in a lot of good stuff. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, this should be good. And then El Chapo, and I don't know who the sniper lady was, but she was really good. And then Topher Grace, of all things. Now, he's not necessarily like the best actor, but I'm gonna just do this. But he's a lot more discerning about what roles he takes. So you would think that like somebody sold him on it really well, or maybe it was contractual obligation, but whatever. Let's see. And then Morpheus is in this, of all people. It was a really weird cast for what it was. So they end up recruiting the guy. This is like a really weird D&D session. Like, the guy rolls like a really high charisma. And honestly, I didn't even learn their names. Like, they just kind of were the roles. So, like, Leader was the first one to fall. Then El Chapo, he got his name. And then, so they get Minigun, they recruit him, and then they look over and there's a sniper way too close to them that has a bead on him. But she's not there to kill them. She's there to, like, show that she's not to be fucked with either, which is how you approach that situation. I'm with her. And she was a pretty good actress. I just don't remember seeing her in anything else. Let's see. So, and then, of course, they start going through the jungle, and for whatever reason, there's a Japanese guy in a suit who's following them. He doesn't say anything. He just takes off his crocodile leather boots and then walks through the jungle after him. He's a really interesting character, but he's there for one purpose, so it's actually fitting that he didn't get a lot of dialogue. So as they're going through the jungle, they come across two guys fighting, and it turns out to be like some inmate and a South African, not warlord, but warrior of some kind. I think they said South Africa, African, and that's what I ended up calling him. But there's honestly a lot of turmoil in parts of that continent. So revolutionaries, renegades, take your pick of what that character was actually supposed to represent. We get very little backstory on any of these guys. Not that it matters. So forgive me if I don't fill some of the gaps in with my little bit of knowledge of the world. So, like, they roll up on these two guys fighting. They both stop when these guys walk up. They're yelling at each other still, but they join the party, because why not? So this guy's just rolling high charisma all over the place. They find a guy in a tree. Oh yeah, that was a weird thing. It's like, I think the two guys fighting knew that there was a guy in a tree, but they were kicking each other's ass. So they go and they pull that guy down. That's Topher Grace as a doctor, if you want to believe that. And I think, yeah, we were under the 11-minute mark and we had sexual harassment. And it may have been the inmate to the sniper lady, but still, it was like, oh, it's fun. I can pinpoint this. More jungle. They finally find the creepy guy in the suit. I don't know how he got around him. when he was following them, but he's staring at like a monument of trophies or some shit. He's just staring there, not saying much. Then we actually get some little bit of background exposition about everything. And they do this throughout the movie where it's just, okay, we're going to pause the movie and we're just going to have the characters talk for a while. Not that it's important for them to move or take cover or anything like that. But a lot of it this time is like theorizing on their situation. They think that they're being haunted or like that they. Oh, I'm sorry, they not yet. They think that they might be dead. Like they actually start discussing whether or not they're in Lost, which is a little hilarious to me if I'm being completely honest. So they try to find higher ground, and as they're doing that, we get a little bit of background exposition, and the doc, for whatever reason, ends up saving Minigun from a plant. I have no idea why Minigun's just sticking his fingers in plants, but the doc is he knows that like it's a type of poison, and apparently he happens to know exactly how effective it is, like to the minute or whatever. And of course, he ends up keeping some on his little knife, his little scalpel. For whatever reason, he has a scalpel. I'm assuming he has like a surgeon's travel kit or something, like a first responders kit for like medic deployment, something like that, just something small. So Sniper ends up doing a cool thing where like she puts a metal rod on a leaf, and then puts the leaf on a puddle, and then what happens is that the leaf spins. What's supposed to happen is that the iron rod is supposed to magnetize because it's ferrite, and it's supposed to point north, or north-south at least. So one way will be north, one way will be south. There's no real way to tell. But the fact that it's spinning means that either they're in a place that has some kind of metaphysical property, that it doesn't exist as we know things to exist, like it's a weird planet, or more likely they're on a tectonic or a ferrite plate, which just means that like there's a whole layer of iron interfering with the magnetism of the planet's gravity. As there are places on Earth that are like that. That's part of how you can find like iron veins and stuff when you're surveying mountains and stuff to see where you can mine, things like that. So there's that, and then the leader points out that the sun hasn't moved in like 8 hours or whatever that they've been out. Or 3 hours, I think. So it's like, so that point you can start theorizing that the day's longer, or you're in a simulation of some kind. So like a lot of their weird theories might actually be true. It would totally make sense up to this point that if this was a virtual reality simulation movie. But they find a couple things that kind of like give them some clues. One of the things is this giant crate that had something living in it. They look up into the trees and see a lot of them. For whatever reason, there's African cockroaches all over the place, so that could be that they are in the African jungle somewhere. It could be that these were imported. It could be that they're just space cockroaches that happen to look like African cockroaches. Who knows? Let's see. Okay, so yeah, so we're still in kind of the theory building point in the movie. It takes a while to Predator in these movies. I think that's my other thing. Like Aliens, I think the first one took a while, but the other two like kick off pretty quick. Because the first one was more about like, you don't know when it's gonna alien. Ooh, they were trying to make a big point. But so after they leave the crate area, like they're going through, and Africa ends up tripping a trap. So of course, what happens when you trip a trap? Everybody runs forward into the unknown area where there might be more traps. And sure enough, there are. So there's like a tiger pit that opens up. I think Leader has to pull the sniper girl out of there. There's like shrapnel flying everywhere. There's logs swinging down. It's basically all of the traps that Arnold Schwarzenegger set up in the first movie, and then some, that they're all setting off all at once. And then they circle up, and of course the only offense that they can find is a dead guy that she happens to see through her scope, which would be no use if anybody was closer than his fucking body. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so they find the body. And it looks like he had a journal. They get some information out of that. They do a little bit of triage on the surrounding area, which is actually kind of cool to see them go like, this is here, this must be that. You get like a kind of like CSI thing going on, where it's like he obviously was at a last stand. He had a lot of things around him that he was fighting off, and then eventually something got him. And he's got his chest burst open, and I couldn't tell if it was burst open, like what if you had a xenomorph, or if like it was a laser shot, or a photon blast, or whatever you want to call it, from one of the shoulder mounts that the Predators tend to carry. And I think it's fairly safe to say that it's a blast shot. And the African guy, who's actually like really intuitive about this situation, I think like at some point in this, like he points out like, this is what they did because I have done this thing, and this is why you do that. No, it's coming up because it's you wound a guy and you leave him somewhere for him to yell for help, until his friends show up so that you can smoke them out. I think that's what it was. I could be wrong. There's a few different scenarios with stuff like that, and they're very standard tactics, and you may think that they're horrible, but people do them in real life because they're effective. In fact, our ammunition is specifically designed to wound our enemy combatants, not because we have the mercy of not killing people. It's so that their friends will try to help them, and we can either kill more of them, or they'll surrender, or they'll spend less time firing at us so that we can gain the advantage. We're not nice when it comes to war. I think that's fine. But so the African guy's actually looking up at the trees because he thought he saw something, and the Predator's looking right at him because we go to one of those thermal visions where they're looking at each other, but one doesn't know, but he might know, and they might be in love, that sort of thing. Let's see. Okay, so after that they manage to go back through the woods, and they finally find a cliff face, and they get to look up and they see this alien sky. Like there's multiple moons, or planets of some kind that you can see from where they're at. I think you can even see like a spaceship or two, if I remember right. So obviously there's something out there who's maintaining this. Almost immediately the leader guy ends up going, this is a game preserve. This is what they're doing. This is why we're here. We're here to be hunted. We're here to do this or that or whatever. So as they're like trying to get back and go to somewhere safe, a herd of these crazy hounds show up. They've got like horns all in them, and it's not like porcupine where it's like quills or anything. It's like deer antler, but it's coming out their ribs and stuff. It's really a weird design, but apparently they're like super vicious and dedicated, so I guess they make good hunting dogs for the Predators. The thing that I do have a problem with them is that like later you see one of them get cloaked, which I have a small problem with that, because personal cloaking devices are fine. Area cloaking devices are a little bit harder to do. And in Star Trek Beyond, the Whatever one has Jaina in it. They kind of make a weird explanation for that, that I could stand by, but this wasn't that. I didn't get that. It was just like a little robot thing like you see in XCOM 2 that's just like, oh, things here are invisible, including me. You gotta stop moving my microphone, sweetie. Mira is right. Let's see. Oh yeah, so they have the stupidest reaction to these things. And I think they only see the one at first, too. But they waste half their ammo firing at this thing. It's not close enough. They're hitting the ground, the trees around it. And surprisingly enough, it's still charging them. Wait and get the correct shots. I think the sniper's finally the one that takes it out, and she shoots it like through the head because they got close enough for her to get a proper aim up. And then they notice like there's 8 more of these things. And the beautiful thing is that they end up killing it down to 1 left. And then the last one, even though she had like saved a couple of them at critical times, like she's out of ammo now because of course she's probably got the smallest clip, if nothing else. So she ends up at her pistol, and she ends up counting her rounds and realizes she's only got 1 left. She goes to shoot herself in the head, and the hounds are called off. And there's no sport in like letting someone kill themselves. So I think that was actually the determination. It was the Hunger Games. It's like, you're not gonna make me die like this. I'm gonna kill myself. And they're like, no, come on, I can get you later. Because if they don't get credit for the kill, then what's the point, too? So after that, they regroup. Leader explains that they're being hunted. That's where that happens. Okay. And they hear shouting, of all things. So there's a clearing. And they find a person sitting in the middle of the clearing asking for help. And it's definitely trapped. They tested it out a little bit. it's definitely trapped. Who knows if that person is in any condition to continue living afterwards. It's unclear if he's real or not. We have the little explanation of like, this is why you do this sort of thing. The best option is to leave him be. And sure enough, right in the chat, because we do watch this over at Rabbit/Camera is to shoot him, to put him out of his misery. And my theory on that was not even like a compassionate act of mercy, though it is. And really, you should just go ahead and put him out of his misery, is so that it doesn't attract anyone else. If there's no bait in the trap, then the trap won't work. So the biggest thing you can do to hurt the hunters is to kill their bait. But sure enough, she puts a bullet in his head, and he still is saying stuff. So apparently it's like a robot duplicate, or it's a clone of some kind, because it looks just like El Chapo. And honestly, I don't remember when El Chapo dies in this movie. It's not in my notes either. So he could have traitored. He could be an evil bio clone. Who knows? Let's see. Okay. So after that, the leader decides to hunt the hunted. He wants to go aggressive, which is actually a good answer. The problem is that they haven't got eyes on these things, and we know that we're on an alien planet at this point, and that there's spacecraft and crazy dogs and stuff. So hunting someone like that without enough information, probably not a great idea. But sure enough, he's setting them up anyway. So he marches everybody right into their camp, which I don't know how they did that without being noticed anyways. And they find skinned bodies, and they find a predator that's still alive, but he's tied to a post. And I think later we get an explanation about like there's a big race and a small race, and that they have some kind of like blood feud or whatever. But who knows why he ended up there? If we're being honest. And I'm actually missing. I watched this and I'm missing pieces of the information because I let myself get distracted. Let's see. Okay, so all of a sudden, they notice that like leader's gone, and African starts making calls about what a bad idea it is. And if you look at the situation, they're in a kill zone. That camp is horribly positioned. It's got high ground on both sides. It's got bottlenecks on the other two. It's not a good place to be. It's a I don't know. I don't know what you call it. Other than a kill box. So, like, African gets skewered by one of the predators. And I think he comes visible after that. I could be wrong. The minigun's weapon is either cut in half or plasma shot or something. I watched something else where I think a minigun got cut in half. But so they leave. They end up leaving the predator behind. Everybody starts running. Minigun drops his weapon, but of course he gets taken out because why not? I guess honestly, if we're being honest, why not? Why not kill him? But they end up falling down a hill, off a cliff, into a lake, and I'm like, oh, we're really doing the first Predator again? Oh no! Ah! And sure enough, they end up coming up like in a little alcove cave or something. And of course, Leader came back like at the last second to help get everybody out, but he fucked him over. Sniper gets mad at Leader for setting him up because that's obviously what he did. And he starts going on about intel. He's like, oh no, now we know what they look like. Now we know kind of what they have, that they have cloaking. And like, he goes on this whole justification. And I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm just saying he was a dick. And I think that was her point, if I'm being honest. Oh yeah, the doc is in this too. Yeah, there's like one point where the inmate gets all uppity because he doesn't have a gun. The doc doesn't have a gun. So the inmate decides to try to like hold a knife up to somebody else's neck to get a gun from him. And of course that's just someone else puts a gun to his head. So yeah. It was a funny little moment. It's like, dude, you ain't thinking. But I want to say like at some point he ends up like knifing one of the predators in the throat. Maybe like right before he gets killed. But where are we at? Okay, so they end up reassessing how to hunt the hunters or the predators, and when night comes around, they use the doc as running bait because he's apparently the fastest, or at least he's the guy who's not trained in weaponry. And something ends up chasing him. Who knows what it is? It's some kind of like alien humanoid thing, and I don't know if it was like a hunting hound or if it was a like just another humanoid, like a sentient humanoid that got put there, and it was trying to chase him down for help. Or maybe it was hungry and like he needed the doc for food. I don't know. But they end up shooting at it finally, and apparently they all missed. Which I really think is funny, is that they wait that long and then miss. But it turns out Morpheus shot it. Of all people. That's, I don't know, that's still really funny to me. And I'm not sure why he shot it, if unless he shot it for food, maybe. 'Cause he's been there, he said 10 seasons? 7 seasons? Something like that. He's a survivor. So they go to Morpheus' house to hang out and drink some water and whatever. And there's a huge exposition about like how long he's been there, what he's doing to survive, all that nonsense. And that's where we learn about the blood war between the large and the small predators. 10 seasons, that's what it is. And they strategize. I'm going to be honest, I think at this point is where I really started getting like distracted. I even got a note in here that says I don't know at one point. But like, of course, the survivors are being observed. Why wouldn't you smoke them out of this hovel? It's like rabbits when they go to a den, when they go to ground. If you want to find something that's gone to ground, you leave no ground to go to. It's a very simple concept. That's why you see people like fill gopher holes and rabbit dens and stuff with water. And for smarter animals, they will actually leave breathing holes. God help them if they're too deep. When the breathing hole runs out, or they run away, or they decide it's they're not going to use it. But sorry, I'm just imagining a gopher or a rabbit coming out of their hole wet and pissed. So the predators try to smoke them out. Oh, I guess at this point the Russian saves the doc. That's right, he doesn't die there. I think El Chapo's dead here. No, I don't know. He's dead by the time we get to the Yakuza scene. Um, the okay, so this is what I thought was really odd is that the Russian saves Doc, but then like the table flips real quick, and then Doc doesn't save the Russian. He very much leaves them in the wind. So it's like, oh, he's not really on their side. So it's like it's a tiny bit of like weird foreshadowing that happens here. But it's okay because the Russian, I guess, has a plan. Because he has like I don't know if it's a claymore or what, but he has like explosives strapped to him, and he ends up using those. So it takes out the Predator. Now remember, too, like part of the expression that we got was that there's always 3 of them at a time. So including the captured one, there's 4. The 3 that are hunting and the one that's been captured. So that's 1 out of 3 dead. Like as they're continuing to get out, more like the prisoner, the inmate, whatever, ends up distracting one of them, and they kill him. I think that's where he ends up shanking him in the neck a bunch. I don't think it does enough. I think it's like, oh, this is annoying, and then they spray foam in there or something. And then the rest of the people end up going for the ship, because at this point they've decided like they've got to get off planet, they've got to get the ship, and that's a decent plan, I think, isn't it? That like you go for the ship to get off world, because if you're not on the planet, they can't hunt you to death on the planet. Now they might blow the ship out of the air, but that's hell. Honestly, might be a better chance of living out a longer life. Good for Morpheus that he managed 10 seasons, but bleh. So of course there's the one reason the Japanese guy got put into the movie, and it's for him to use Morpheus's sword that is there for no reason, to get into a sword fight with a Predator, because every movie has like that one melee fight with a Predator, which seems insane because Predators and humans are so physiologically different that like it just seems like the Predator's always going to have the advantage. So what point do they go back for the Predator here? Jeez. Yeah, so at some point on this, and I don't know why. Oh, okay, here it is. So what is it? So the Doc gets maimed, and then the leader actually wants to put booby traps on him for the Predator, because the Predator's going to come for him to kill him and turn him and skin him or whatever, right? But the sniper offers to help him. So the leader's kind of like, well, he's your problem, then I'm going to find a solution. And so Sniper ends up dragging him off. Leader abandons them, and he goes to rescue the tied up Predator. And he figures out that they can understand, or he can understand that, or the Predator can understand Leader, at least. That's what I'm trying to say. So he tries to hire him to fly the ship. I don't know what happens with that aspect of it, but the ship goes bye-bye, one way or the other. And then the big bad leader Predator ends up killing him. So he doesn't amount to a whole lot. Like, he ends up stalling the inevitable, it seems like. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff, like, I don't know what happened. I don't remember if I went for ice cream or what. But, like, I checked out of this fucking movie, like, right in the big climactic third act. That's supposed to hold your attention. Again, not sure what happened that made me not pay attention. I think it was kind of hurting at that point too, because I've kind of hurt my back this past week, and it has not been fun to sit up like I'm doing right now. So I'm trying, but I can only do so much. So what's really fucked up is, like, by the time like the movie caught my attention again, is that Doc takes his little scalpel and he cuts Sniper, which, even for a crazy psychopathic asshole, I don't understand where your motivation is. Like, they still have, even if it's like a drug where they're like, I gotta kill her, like, they still have preservation instincts. Even after a leader starts whooping his ass, because he ends up walking up on him, and he's like, this isn't right. Bam! He starts beating his ass. He's, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. He wants to stay alive. His best bet was to help them out as much as possible. So that makes no sense that he would do that. Things like that. It's like little details like that kind of like fuck me for this. But it was kind of a cool idea in concept to have that character around. What was the other show like that? There was something where they were real, like they'd become real good friends, but one of the guys, it was a deaf guy, was a serial killer. It was a zombie show of some kind, or vampires or something. And like it was a young guy. Oh, what is this show? Van Helsing? I think it was Van Helsing. Because like Helsing is actually like in a coma for a while. But she's like a super soldier. She's immune to the bites, essentially. And the deaf guy ends up getting healed, I think, by being bit. And because they send him out, they abandon him. They exile him for killing all their friends. He goes and gets bit on purpose so that he turns and tries to serve, because he knows that that's the way that he's going to survive. And then he can hear again, which is a funny little bonus. But I think they'd blinded the shit out of him too, so he was pretty bad off at that point. I'm talking about another show entirely at this point. That's how invested I am in Predators. But it just reminded me a lot of that, because it is a really good idea and concept. It's just how it's applied that matters. Let's see. Okay, so so Leader stabs the doc. Booby traps his body. And then ends up blowing up one of the Predators. I put hurts, but I'm pretty sure he kills the one. No, because that's gotta hurt the last Leader Predator. Because I thought the Yakuza guy killed the one during the sword fight, even though if he died himself. I could be wrong. Fuck, I don't know. But eventually, Sniper ends up shooting the big boss Predator. And then the Leader can get enough of an advantage to actually cut his head off. I don't understand what their obsession with cutting off heads are in this movie, but it happens way too easily. I don't know if you've ever tried to cut somebody's head off. That's not what I mean. But like the process of cutting someone's head off is not an easy or simple thing. That the spinal column is designed specifically to prevent things like this. So if you can get through all the meat of the neck, and the Predators have like big fucking meaty necks, you still have to deal with the spine. So it may take a couple to get that super clean one cut chop. You're basically hitting them with the force of a car impact. It's crazy how hard you have to hit somebody to make that happen. Now for like put the sword through their neck and like gush blood everywhere, pretty easily. It's the head going everywhere. I mean, like the French had to invent a machine to do it efficiently for executions. Le guillotine. So let's see. Okay, that's my bullshit for decapitations. So it closes with more parachutes landing. So that's how close it is to like do seasons. It's like as soon as all the Predators are dead, or all the prey's accounted for, I guess, or the timer runs out. I'm assuming they have a limit. The next hunt begins. So, and it's just the Leader and the Sniper left at this point, and they're trying to find a way off the planet. So there could be a really good movie with them trying to get on the boarding ship that the Predators end up coming to surface with. If they can stealth onto that somehow, maybe they'd be able to get off planet. I would watch that movie, but I think the Aliens versus Predator movies are a better way to go. I had to sift through some video game titles because IMDb insists on doing that as well now. I went at IVDB and I went at IMDb. Like, let's separate them. You do a movie database, that's great. Do a video game database. I really would love that too. There's already things like that for porn. Why can't we do it for video games? What was I gonna say? So next week is Aliens versus Predator. Go ahead and join us over at Rabbit/Camerai Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern for Scary Movie Night. Come watch it. We'll chat, have a good time. It's fun. It's fun. And then I think next week we've got Tusk, which is also a scary movie, but I'm gonna put it on Bad Movie Club because we're gonna do the Canadian horror trilogy pieces. Moose Jaws isn't going to be ready by then, but we'll come back to it. I feel like I'm missing something. We're on to Incredible Hulk on We Are Movie Club. But until we see you next time, have a nice day from over here at #WeAreMovieClub. This has been Scary Movie Squad. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to other channels. Thanks for watching.